DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Because, I've gotten feedback on tangents, and they've said that, tangents are awesome. Because we can be talking about the color blue, the blue of the sky, and then we can talk about Megaseg, and then we can talk about why Dan is not using the right color controller because he doesn't like it blue, and we're back here to the blue of the sky. Beautiful.
At least that was a tangent that came back around.
See how I tied it all together?
That was a 360 right there.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty bright. Good evening, everyone. It is now our second show over Monday night. If you missed the first one, you actually missed a really good show talking about photo booth. You need to go into the description, check that out, click on that, see what Drax and I were up to tonight. But now, it is your questions. We are going to answer them. We're probably not going to answer them correctly or intelligently or possibly even accurately, but we're going to give you an answer.
But probably entertainingly.
Maybe. Otherwise, we're going to talk about the blue sky. We're going to talk about stuff. We've got Dan, MJ, and Shaney. Yay!
Hello, Governor.
We made it.
Hello.
Hey, are the Cubs still in first place?
The Twins are, so, the season can end today.
I thought the Cubs retired after that.
The Cubs lost, but the Sox game got rained out today, so Sox are playing tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say.
There's our sports update for tonight. MJ, these are baseball, and baseball is played with a stick and a round.
I know that because my father played semi-professional ball, so there.
Oh, wow. You actually know what that sport's all about.
I played a lot of sports growing up. I don't like to watch them. I love to play it. Like if you said right now, let's go play basketball, football, whatever. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But if you're like, let's sit down and watch the game, I'm like, why?
Well, the game's on right now.
Go outside and play it. You don't have to watch it. You play it.
Let's go have some fun, man. Oh, the young days, the days when that would have been like, yeah, let's go. And I would be like, oh, that's going to hurt tomorrow. Oh,
I'm okay with memories. As my friend Pat and I were talking about, bad ideas always make for the best memories.
Yeah, there was that. Okay, so let's get into some of the topics tonight. Yeah, David, I don't think we should be buffering. I'm seeing the stream and such. I always think it's weird when we're talking stream and we're like, old guys, because that's just so weird. But the stream going to YouTube.
I'll tell you, I'm older than you, and I don't even. That's not a topic that has ever come up in my mind.
Okay, so I hear people talk about it. But the stream to YouTube is very solid tonight. So, David, it must be on your end. Click refresh. There is a map that tells us where YouTube is down in the country, which is kind of cool to look at once in a while. And sometimes it will show that there is outages, and that causes issues, but not between
I will say I was having some buffering issues watching you and Drax.
Well, that's because there was so much awesome information.
I was not, so
see, there's the YouTube outage.
Middle of the PA, and not the Western PA.
I'm going to go try to find the map right now. Here we go. YouTube outages in the world. It's coming up, and there are a few on the eastern coast of the United States. Something south of Chicago, St. Louis.
Oh, David's in, so we don't need to worry about it anymore. Awesome. Woo! Hey, somebody's making barbecue?
New York.
We like barbecue. Oh, we're off topic. Okay. MJ, do we have a question to start off with?
We have several. I don't know where to start with.
The first one.
Someone in the chat room asked this question, and I would like you, while we're going on to other questions, to let us know what you meant by that. You said DIY DJ controllers. Please explain that to me if you can in the chat. But while he's doing that, the next one's kind of a good one. It's a tough one to answer. It's basically volume. Where do you start? So where do you start with volumes when you DJ, speaker-wise, different things like that? Where do you start?
11.
Redlining.
When you're in the red, you're rocking, right?
I like tap. Crank it to 11. Come on.
I like to have my volumes nice and quiet so that if someone's, passing a little flatulence across the room, that we can all hear and enjoy it. So I'm...
All the other bands have ones that go to 10. Ours goes to 11. But it goes to 11. Don't you understand? Those of you who've never seen the movie Final Tap.
That would be the line. Yeah. And that was Evie's big selling point, or one of their points for the ETX, I think it was. Theirs went to 11.
That's something to own just to own it.
I think it's almost a requirement. You have to watch that as a music in the music industry, don't you?
Yeah. It's great. It's awesome. Volumes. Here's the weird thing that I talk to a lot of people about. When it comes to the old days, you basically had volumes and gains to deal with. But now, if you're plugging a computer into a controller, you have the computer's volume that can be adjusted that's separate from the master volume on the controller, which is separate from the channel volume on the controller, which also is separate from the gains on whether they're even automated or not. So you kind of have to strike a balance. I tuned a friend of mine's system where he had literally the speakers turned almost all the way up. He had his, I think the main was all the way up. And I'm like, why is it not sounding right? And I went over to the computer and fooled with a couple things and backed the main off and backed this off, backed off, and then turned it up in the computer. And it was half the volume that he used before, but louder and quieter. So again, with the volumes, it's kind of subject to what speakers you're using, because I can say that I know when I plug in my QSE K12s, I've never taken them over half volume in my entire life, and this is including outdoor gigs. But other people I know, my friend Pat has 2 CDJs and a really old mixer where he really has to crank it because that mixer's not pushing out enough.
Yep.
So that's where you kind of have to tailor back and forth of, I can't give you an answer what to do, but I would say with all of those, if you're dealing with all of those, and then if here's where you go nuts. If you have an amp that you come out of your controller into an amp, and then from an amp to the speaker, that's a whole nother thing. So, I mean, it's just something you have to test and bring up. Like John said, I think bring it up slowly, look at your meters and try to balance it the best you can.
And listen to the sound itself.
What?
Huh? To make sure that for you, it sounds clear and it's not muddy or just sounds like a Burger King drive-through or anything. So you gotta listen for that as well.
Well, there was another one there. Somebody said they sent me
No, that was another Michael. The other Michael.
Oh, okay. Because I'm looking for emails.
Michael Toma. They sent something there. So.
While you're looking for that, well, I would say when it comes to volume, for me, it depends on the event. But if I'm doing a wedding, my rule of thumb is I want to be able to hear, not necessarily understand or anything. I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but I want to be able to hear a conversation at least 2 or 3 tables away from me.
Really?
Yeah.
Dinner?
Just to the point that I can understand that they're talking at a normal level, not having to shout to each other, and if that works, like 3 tables away, if I can tell that that's going on.
Really?
For now, we're talking about intros, or not intros. I'm sorry. We're talking about when they're walking into the room. We're talking about when they're doing cocktail hour.
Most of the people I've always heard said that you should have it to the point where it's just above the nearest table, so you barely can't hear the absolute closest person.
Nope, not for me. I mean, maybe some other people have obviously different philosophy. I want to be able to, I want to be able to tell that the people that are 3 tables away are having a normal conversation and not having to shout.
How does that affect the people who are all the way across the room with?
They won't hear it unless you've got another set of speakers or something, unfortunately.
Depending on the size of the room.
And the layout of the room. You may not.
That's something we never even talked about right there when we mentioned all the different volume knobs, room size and room shape. And
yeah. Where I'm talking about as far as level, and I didn't check dB. I mean, next time I do a gig, I can check my dBs. But I will do a room walk, and I do not have an issue of it being heard anywhere within the room. If it does, then they do boost it a little bit. I mean, if we're talking about a long room or a wide room or something like that, then my rule kind of goes out the window. But most of my venues are 200 max type rooms, and I'm in the middle. So it's easy for me to shoot the way I'm talking and cover without an issue. And then when we get to dancing, I focus on the floor.
Do any of the other guys, girls, folks on the show, use volume meter like Dan said?
I have a dB meter. I don't use it at shows. I bring it with because I always intend to do a high school dance and go out there and do the video where I'm showing how loud the speakers get for demonstrating that. I've had it with, I've been on 8 shows in the last 7-8 months, and I've not shot that video. It's hard to trying to. I'd rather be quieter than in getting back to what I was saying earlier. There's a level of truth to that. I'd rather be too quiet and then come up than to be too loud and blow the guests that are near the speakers.
Cheney, clubs and bars. Because I'm on the opposite end. I'm DJing, always getting yelled for having it too quiet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, clubs and bars, you know, I mean, it's a little different because I literally just crank my channel level all the way up, no matter what.
Yeah, we know you like to turn your knobs. Okay, we just know that.
So, I mean, you know, I don't have access to the master, you know, at the club. So I'm always on the mixer. I'm and the channel levels all the way up because I don't use a crossfader. So I'm up unless the general manager or the manager comes over to me and tells me to bring it down. But they've never told me to bring the levels down at a club, like ever.
That's something when we're talking, what she just said there about the volume as opposed to crossfaders. With the digital age, before we kind of backed off of the up and down volumes a little bit. But now with the digital stuff, I don't know if you're doing the same thing, Shani, my slider volumes are always all the way up. Mm-hmm. And then the master is my adjustment. So every time they always go all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. You never go part way. Because for me with the program, the digital effects might ramp or deramp the volume. And it actually will do, let's say you have your slider volume halfway. And if it's in the program of that effect to do, let's say, an echo out, and it's written in the MIDI mapping to go from 100% to 0. If your volume slider is at 50, it will literally go 100 and then come back down. So that's why one of the reasons why I always run them all the time, all the way up.
So, I do that too at my private events too, though. At my private events, I keep my mixer channels all the way up too. And then if I'm coming out of another, you know, mixer, like an 8-channel mixer or, you know, somewhere else, I play with those. I try to keep that at infinity if possible. Mm-hmm. But, you know, my personal either controller or mixer is that one's all the way up. And then I play with, you know, either the speaker volumes if I'm using the powered speakers or whatever I'm using. And it's like, I mean, it's a whole process now. You have to run around and play around and make sure you get that equal volume of wherever you want it to be. So, you know, for me, I like the clear volume. Like, you know, even if we have the bass bins and we're using the subs, I will sit there for 15 minutes if I have to make sure that at the private events, it's clear and it's, you know, and in between, you know, kind of like what Dan is saying, where when they're walking into the room, I'm not killing them with volume right at the beginning, whether they're walking into just background music or if we're just, you know, doing it East Coast style and starting with the dance set the minute they're walking in. I don't want to kill them with the music. So, you know, gradually bringing it up, yes, but I want to make sure all the levels are perfect and everything. And that includes the microphone too. You know, you don't just do the music check, you have to do the mic check as well. And you have to do a mic check over the music.
Over the music. I was just going to say, yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, because
for me, I will also do the scratching over just to make sure.
Yeah, you have to do no matter whatever you use during an event at a club, whatever you're using, you have to check all of that. You can't just say, oh, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good. No, like, you know, I go out in the middle of the dance floor while the music's playing and I have, you know, I know we've talked about this, I think before, that some people have certain songs that they play for mic checks and for sound checks that, you know, cover all the levels and everything. And, you know, you have to do it. And even when I do sound checks, when we're setting up, if there's people in the room, I always say to them, just so you guys know, we're doing a sound check right now. It might get a little loud in here. This isn't the level that we're, you know, going to be playing at the party, but we're doing sound checking right now and it's going to take a few minutes so people don't freak out and be like, is this what the level of the music's going to be throughout the whole entire night? Yeah. So we let people know about that.
Somebody in the chat, and this, I've seen 3 people already say, yes, they do that. I'm going to shake my finger at you and say, don't do that about dropping the mids to control the volume. That's not what mids are for. If you're blending and you want the tones to change for a blend, that's what you use the high-low mids for. But with the digital age and how everything is not quantized, what's the word I'm looking for? Quantized or normalized within the digital side of it, you changing that really is not the right thing to do with the new digital age. Old analog stuff that kind of works, but with the digital stuff, leave it dead center all the time and use your volumes for your volumes, use your faders for your faders. And like I said, unless you're intentionally trying to change the tone of the song for the blend. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So you guys are talking about having, I'm going to go to a typical controller. So we have our master sliders right here. You guys are talking about having those all the way up. Then there's a gain up here. at the top of that.
They're automated. At least mine are.
And then there's the master volume.
Yes.
Okay. All the way up. Are you controlling then the sound with the two individual channel gains, or are those?
You turn at least for me, I keep the gain dead center because they're automated within the program. So if I have an old song that's not loud, it's going to automate it. Leave them in the center. Leave your high-low mids in the center. Take your slider volumes, we used to call long faders, and the crossfader we used to call short fader, volumes all the way up, and then you only control your volume between the computer's volume adjustment, the master volume on the controller, and the speaker volumes. You work with those three.
And I could see that being could work in a more of a club environment. But if a person, as a wedding DJ, when I'm doing dinner music, I set basically my mic, my master, and I set it, as Shani said, for that louder time. And then I'm pulling these sliders back because if I'm using the gain, let's say at the beginning with dinner, I've got the master gain down because I don't need the music.
You're talking gain or master volume?
The master volume. I've got the master volume turned down. I've got that turned down because I don't need much volume for the dinner. That means my microphone channel has to be pumped up more because I need the microphone volume. But
I work them live up and down as
I mean, for dinner and cocktails and stuff like that, I will turn my channels down a little bit. So, I mean, for those when I'm not like mixing and I'm just kind of playing like a cocktail mix or just dinner music, my levels aren't all the way up on those for that time. But during the party and everything else going on, my two channel levels are all the way up the whole, like when I'm mixing and everything.
One little trick I picked up, and whether it works for you and your controller, it might be the key here. But one of the things I try and do is I have the volume on my master up to a comfortable level, and I get that ratio of the mic to the music set up in just the right way, and then to adjust for those announcements where I might have to do before we're really doing your introduction, your high energy stuff, or you're really doing your stuff where you're going to be Adam. I turn my master back, so that way, because then it controls everything. It takes the music down, it takes the microphone down, keeps everything in those same ratios, just lower.
Yep.
And then when I get into the mixing, then I can crank the master volume. Once I've really done that, if we're just doing like exactly what Shani was saying, we're doing just a dinner or a cocktail, I'll bring my long faders and I won't run them as high. But I use, exactly as MJ was saying, I use the auto gain feature in virtual to keep them from kind of jumping out at me. And mainly because, for example, Aerosmith, I love the band. I hate whoever does their recordings because everything is like, out of nowhere, where everybody's kind of like here, everybody else is way off the screen with them.
It's intentional. It's intentional.
I know it is. I know it is, but it's one of those things where they were like the biggest culprit for me. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna do the auto gain, and that helps a little bit, and then I will adjust my channel gains if I'm in a mix and I feel like I just don't have enough. Like if my ears go on, something just feels like it needs a little bit more. Then I'll boost past the auto gain until it gets to the point in the song that it fixes it or whatever. So.
That's what my trim's for. I'll hit my trim up a little.
Yeah. See, that's a whole other thing that if we get into some sort of compressor, inline compressor too, that changes everything. Guys who run really high end systems will run stuff like that. So,
well, that's why, I also said to check all the levels when you're doing that sound check. And when I meant all the levels, I meant like, okay, this is where I'm going to have it for dinner music. This is where I'm going to have it when I'm pumping up the crowd and it's party time and we're dancing and it's going crazy and I'm playing every Pitbull song and things like that. So it's like, that's why I say like, I check all the levels. So I know that I'm good, that I didn't just check it for like my dinner music and then all of a sudden the party's starting and it sounds like a Burger King drive-thru now and it sounds absolutely horrendous and I don't know why because I didn't check that.
Yeah, they're drunk by that point anyway.
No, that's true.
I was thinking, John, you're old enough to remember Dr. Demento, large orange drink. Do you remember that skit on Dr. Demento? Probably not.
Not that particular. Demento I do, but not that particular.
Yeah, he has one. There was somebody was taking an order through a drive-through, and when she made that, you couldn't understand the guy's.
Oh, like, yeah.
Orange drink.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yep.
Like onion rings with that. No, I said I just want a large orange drink.
That's right. Yeah. That was a radio guys who did that, and it went around the country to radio stations and such. A lot of the Demento skits.
Gosh, I'm old.
That was old. Yeah, that was back. That would have been in the early to mid '80s, early '80s, I think.
That's when I was a teenager.
Oh man. Let's jump to Howie's question. The one about
letdowns.
What's that?
The letdown one?
Yeah. After
I'm going to read it because I copied and pasted it. So
okay, please.
We'll figure out exactly what he meant because we all when we read that we all thought it was something different.
Yeah. So we'll just each interpret it from our own perspective, and I mean this is the new world where we each interpret an answer and question differently, and then we give our opinion.
It's good that we do that. He said, "How you folks handle the occasional emotional letdown after a great event." Who wants to go first?
I want to talk about. I want to start with the DJ convention side of it first, and the reason for that is because a prime example of how we are left after a DJ show was a flight that Shani and I shared back from Atlantic City. She and I are sitting up there in the front seats of the airplane there, and there between the two of us, there wasn't an ounce of energy to carry on much of any kind of a conversation. We were just two whipped puppies, basically.
I was like, "Hi, John." He was like, "Hi, Shani."
And it's like
that was like it. We didn't even know we were flying together, first of all, so it was just kind of like, "Hi, John."
Yeah, it was just, and even when I've flown with KC back from Chicago on other flights, it's just so draining for some people, and I'm one of those people that have more of an introvert side. So I can go and I can do these things at these shows, but when it's done, I am emotionally drained. Now it doesn't matter if it's an awesome show or a crappy show. Just takes a ton out of me, and I think there's a lot of DJs who are like that. That when we're on stage, we can do what we need to do, and we can be whatever. But boy, oh boy, as soon as the lights are turned down, it's like. So that was my perspective, and I wanted to share it from that angle.
I'm tangenting in the chat room. Sorry, we're talking about old Dr. Demento song. I took it as in how do you unwind? Because in like with Shani and I, when we do like the really really crazy high energy stuff, I actually, just a friend of mine posted about it over Saturday night afterwards at 2:30 in the morning. He's like, "Am I the only person that never wants to hear another song after I'm done DJing?" Mm-hmm. And I literally have different things that I listen to or nothing that completely take me off of the whole music mindset to where it's great. Your energy, you have to wind down and you have to use every ounce of it for me because, I'm kind of little, I'm a little energy, but Really? Honestly. But it takes everything I have to get myself to wind down. That's why I don't go to bed till 4 a.m. because it's minimum 2 hours for me to even come down to a normal level after DJing because your mind is like mix, hard, mix, strain, mix, read the crowd, mix. Okay, we're done. What?
It has nothing to do with the drinks that I see you pull out and the sugar and...
Keep in mind, I backed way off of all of that. Now that post, for those of you who saw that post, that was almost 10 years ago. And I have not, I couldn't even tell you, it's probably been 2 years since I've had a Red Bull. This is all just straight me all the time. Like I can't, what would put someone else to sleep takes me down to the average person's level of calmness. But that's what I took it as. How do you come down off a great event, like an emotion, like a great high? How do you come off of that and face reality of when you get home, you have to do laundry or whatever? Is that what you meant? Please.
I think so. They're talking about different angles. Or Robin mentioned that it's a natural high, and I think a teen dance specifically. Weddings, just because unfortunately most weddings don't stop at 11 o'clock. It's like if they could end at 11 when the party was rocking, but no, the bride and groom wanted to go till 12:30, and their guests were tired because I've had them dancing since 8 o'clock, and they hit 11 o'clock, and they're like, "Oh man, we're shot," and they're dragging across the floor and out the door. When you could leave early, you have that event where it's like, "Oh, this is wall-to-wall kick butt. Yay, rah, rah." High school dances, the kids are there. They're there from the beginning to the end, and they're ready to go. And when you get done with that, it's a high. And Lori went with me with high school dances last fall, and she I forgot how much fun these are because it is. We'd come home, and she's like still going, and she's like, "Well, I can't settle down and go to bed. I'm going to go clean the house." It's like...
Probably at least once a month, I go from a high school or junior high dance to a club gig. Immediately pack up, go to the club gig, do the club gig. So, and you are just, you have to, your mindset of king, like, did I play that song at the junior high dance or did I play it at the beginning of my hour?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's a strange thing because our job is to celebrate with people, whether it's a wedding or whatever. So part of our job is to be positive and energetic, and that takes a toll sometimes. Chill out. I mean, you see my Spotify playlists and how many chill out channels I have saved in there.
Now, see, I took it a different direction. And I took it from the idea of you have a great event and then you go to the next week and it's not that same level. Like, and it's like, what the heck did I just I suck. Like, what happened here? Like, they were on the dance floor, like sweating, shouting my name, give me high fives. I mean, and then now this, I can't even get them out of the seats. Like, what the heck? That's where you gotta look at yourself in the mirror and you go, last week you were not the greatest thing since sliced bread, and this week you're not the worst thing ever. You're somewhere in the middle, and the people that you're playing for are the people that are going to be what's going to determine that. And then I bring this into the idea of, if you want that crowd, if you want that high five aspect, we'll get marketing on you for a second. That's your ideal client. Now figure out how to get them all the time. You're still going to have crappy gigs no matter what. But if you get the right client, you can have them more often.
You have crappy gigs more often, or you have better gigs more often?
I don't know.
Also,
you'll have them more often. Whatever it is, you'll have them more often.
Yeah, you have whatever more often.
Also, one of the things when they ask that question, how do you come down off an emotional letdown? I took that as in, like, I come down off the letdown by cashing the check. Woo! I'm back up.
MJ, that when you made that point, the thing I thought it struck me is that with weddings, a lot of times we get paid a month in advance. And back in the day, and Lori's mentioned this also, when we used to get the check the day of, and you're cashing, going in on Monday and you're cashing, $2,000-$3,000, whatever it is, dollars. There is that, like, woohoo! Look at the checkbook. It's nice and big. Now that you're getting paid a month in advance, and come Monday, if you might have whatever, it's like, oh man, there was no check. I didn't bring a check home, and so there's this kind of a
There's a downside to that too, because there's a club I used to work at that the manager would not sign the DJ's checks until we got finished checking out all the registers. Until everybody's money was counted, we were the last one. So we would always end up ordering pizza, and we wouldn't get out of there until 3 a.m. just to get our check. So,
I've always been a philosophy of doing it in advance, and so I've had a couple weeks that have just been like crazy weeks for me that are just personal life and other job and everything else. And I get to the Saturday and I'm just like, oh, I really got to go. But I will say this, the one thing that I got into a habit for myself is I pay myself for my gigs. I don't know how you guys maybe do it. If you take out like every week, you always give yourself the same, or if you give it based on your events. Because of my setup, I do it based upon my events. I take half of what I made and that goes to me and the rest goes to the business. So I always have that effect after my gigs. Even though I've had the money stored in the account for a while, I always get that payday on Sunday afternoon when I hit the ATM or whatever it is.
Nice.
So
nice way to handle it.
Anybody in the chat room use the phone for mobile deposit? Because for me, a person who doesn't like to get out, and after getting a check on a Saturday night, I don't want to leave the house for a while. That has been a savior to me, to do the mobile deposit with the phone and never have to go to the bank. So some people don't like it. I know friends that absolutely hate it because it goes on hold for 3 days. But to me, it'll be at least that long before I get out of the house. So,
Shani, how did you take Howie's question?
I took it as in you just finished your event, and then now, how are you feeling? Emotionally afterwards. And I mean, for me, for those that know that I've been going through a lot of stuff like the last 6 months, I mean, I just kind of turn, the performer on, and no matter what's going on with me, if I'm doing a private event, this is a one in a lifetime experience for the people there. So no matter what's happening in my life, I have to do the fake smile and give them, 1,000% and be, be, the Shaney performer that they hired. And then the minute, I'm leaving the venue and I still have that fake smile going on, and then I get in the car, is when the emotions hit me and everything. It's like, it's back to reality for me, and it's like, oh God, okay, I still have to do this. I have to do that. It's like everything kind of just goes in my head of everything I thought about before the event now is back in my head. So it's like, to me, it's like that emotional roller coaster of the highs and the lows. But then, like MJ was saying, I'll do a private event and then, like run out to the car, get on the expressway, drive right to the club, hit the club till, as people saw on my Snapchat this weekend, till like 3:30 a.m. I was like, please leave. I think that was like 3:15. I was playing Jump Around and I just wrote on my Snapchat, I'm like, please leave. I had like a pet dance because of spring break. And I was just so exhausted, but I got to keep that game face on. And then, so it's like, I did a private event Saturday, went to the club, finished at the club, 3:30. By the time I got out of there, it was 4:00. So it was like, I'm driving home and I was just drained, no matter, even though both events were incredible, the private event was great, the club was great, but it was like, I just emotionally just was drained and just couldn't think straight and just, wanted to just get home and get in bed, even though I knew the next day I had to get up and I had to do another party. But it's like, I gotta keep those emotions in track. So it's hard. I don't know if anybody saw my friend Dave from Ontario did a Facebook post. I think it was last week. And the only reason I feel bad, the only reason I knew is because he took a picture with me and tagged me in it. That was the only reason why I saw his Facebook post. And I'm sorry, Dave, I should follow you more closely. But he does a blog, and actually the Facebook post was about just the loneliness of DJs and entertainers, about how people don't understand all the prep work we do and the meetings and the emails and the prepping the music and this and that. And, then we have to be spot on for the event. But there's a lot of times of just loneliness, of just, even though if you have family, you have a significant other and you have kids and you have great friends and you have this and you have that, it's still that, whether you're in a DJ booth at a club by yourself for, 4 hours, or you're doing a one-person event. And even though it's a great party and everybody's dancing, this and that, it's still sometimes that just that loneliness of, knowing you're by yourself. Yeah, I have my techs with me and I'll have like maybe my whole entire crew, but still when you get in that car, sometimes you just have that feeling. And it's that, to me, that's like kind of what Holly was talking about that emotional, the emotional roller coaster. And that's why I think we talked about this on another show, MJ, that all of a sudden these incredible, great DJs come out and say that, hey, I'm checking into a rehab facility, or I'm leaving the business, or I'm doing this because I've been taking drugs, or I've been doing this, or the alcohol, or this has been getting to me, and people don't understand that I've been in pain. I mean, look at the story of DJ AMPM, DJ AM, like, I didn't know the whole entire story until I watched the movie and how much pain he was in. And I mean, people just saw him as this incredible DJ that brought us on the map as entertainers, and people didn't understand just the demons that he was fighting. Mm-hmm. And it sucks that a lot of, people in the entertainment industry, people only see the good sides of us and they don't see the other sides of us. And that's when we need support systems, and we need people like Howie who reaches out to people and ask how you're doing and things like that. But it's hard. It's hard to be an entertainer. And it's hard to do, whether you're doing teen events, whether you're doing weddings, whether you're doing, private events, whether you're doing the club. It's a hard business that we're in. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we make people have fun for a living and we celebrate with them, and it's a great time. But like I always tell people, like, you only see the good posts on my social media. You only see like me with entertaining people. You don't see the picture of us with a speaker that, that blew 10 minutes before the party starts, or this is happening, or this happened to equipment, or we went to the wrong venue, or that, like, you don't see any of that kind of stuff because we don't post any of that. We post the good stuff. So, you got to have a strong head for this entertainment business. You really do.
It's perfect that you went there, because who was it in the chat? Marcus,
Yeah.
and also another question that we're going to tie all this together with something that was asked at the beginning of the chat when I grabbed questions that people were putting down there. And I could talk for an hour on this. I'm just going to read it and then let you guys talk, and then I'll fill in if we need anything. Do you think we can lose sight of the reason why we got into the business? I can go on for a month about this. If anybody wants to go first, please do. Marcus said that he's in the business. How did he say that? He DJs because it's a business. Now, some people DJ because they love DJing. Some people because they love music. I'm not supposed to. You guys are supposed to talk.
Repeat the question again.
Okay. Do you think we lose sight of the reason why we got into the business? Some people, again, like I said, get into it for money because it's a job. Other people do it because of the love of everything that has to do with DJing. That would be where you answer it yourself. I'm going to end because I'm going to ramp on this so hard. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to go on a Shaney rampage either. So if somebody wants to.
I want to.
So the concept of this is an interesting one because we have so many of us who got into it because we love music and what have you. It's interesting to me, the other side, the number have gotten into this because they looked at the DJ industry as a way to make money because there were so many horrible business people in the DJ world, people who couldn't sell their way out of a paper bag. All they knew how to do was play music, and not even good at that. I talked to numerous East Coast owners, and you guys have seen me interview some of these in the last 3 months. Guys who don't DJ anymore, they got into it not because they DJ'd, they got into it to run a business and to make money at it. And when Marcus, I believe it was, mentioned that they DJ to make money, that's very common. And the ones who are the most successful at making money and putting money in the bank and these larger multis are going at it from that perspective. Guys like Mike Walter, who are performers and business owners, are somewhat unique and unusual. Most of the time, you've got the single operator guys like myself and others who love music, and we go out there and we do what we do, and we kind of trudge along. And then you've got some of the guys who are out there, and I know a couple of them that are running multi-million-dollar businesses that have a little bit of DJ background, but they had more business knowledge and have created a business out of this. So to lose sight of the reason we got into the business, on some levels, you almost should. To a point. Yes, I know we enjoy the music, we enjoy the business side of it, but we really have to not so much lose the sight as have a well-rounded view of why we do what we do. If that makes sense.
Dan, or do I go up the deep end? Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just going to say, I think everybody's going to lose sight of why they got into anything every so often. It's you talk about relationships there's the 7-year itch that they talk about. There's, you've got jobs who people kind of get tired of after every so often. We've got this great career that's full of fun and energy and everything else. And you're going to lose sight, whether you got into it because it's a business or not. At some point along the way, your focus shifts for a time period. Now, whether that becomes a long-term switch, like what John was saying, where, you start out because you like it for music, then you realize the business. And so you kind of shift your focus in that direction. Whether you got into it because it was fun and you had a stretch of a couple gigs that were a little sour, or personal life impacted how you perform and you're not having as much fun. And then you kind of get a breath of fresh air and you revitalize and you're back at it. Or whether it's, something entirely different. I think everybody's going to lose sight of it for a time being. How you come out of it or what caused that is obviously what makes the biggest impact on where you go and what you should be doing. If you lose sight for the wrong reasons, then you need to be out.
Ooh.
Yeah, really quick before MJ goes on his soapbox.
No, I'm making notes.
Kind of like what Dan said, I think it goes with everything in life. No matter what kind of job you have, no matter what you do. Music is my passion. It always has been. When I was a dancer, it was my passion. Being a DJ, it's my passion. But I have bills to pay, and I have to make a living. And, I've been in my career for a long time now. So do I take free gigs? No. And I'm not talking about the charity stuff that we do and things like that. I'm talking about when somebody wants to undercut our company and then they come back to us and say, well, will you do it for this amount of money? Will you do it for that? No. As much as music is my passion and I love DJing, I'm not going to, I know what my worth is. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to keep that in mind of what is your worth and what what do you want people to see you as? And if you want to be that guy that undercuts everybody and works all the time, but, makes less money, then you can be that person. I rather say, sorry, boo-boo, I can't do the job. Go to wherever you want to go. And I hope you have a great event. It's not going to be me, but I hope it's a great event. I'm not saying that I have to get paid this amount of money every single gig, but I know what my worth is now. And that's why I also travel so much. I mean, I'm leaving again this week to do some more stuff. And this is like my traveling starts again with the DJing. So it's like, I know what my worth is. And I mean, people who are in the bar and club business, you guys also know it's not our bread and butter. We can't make a living off of that unless we're, doing Vegas gigs and Omnia and things like that. I mean, I'm making more money doing my private events than my club stuff, but I love doing the club stuff because of the passion that I have for it. So you got to find that happy medium of knowing that balance of not losing sight of why you got in the industry, but also knowing that you have bills to pay, you have family, you have this, you have that, you have a mortgage, you have like everything, you got to pay off, and clients understand that, they have the same thing. They're just trying to see what, the best deal they can get from you. So my whole thing is, don't lose sight of it to the point where you become a monster about it, because also when you become that monster, people will talk about you and you won't get the gigs anymore. Word of mouth. People will say like, hey, back in the day, Dan was great, but now when you call him, it's all about this, it's all about this, it's all about this. I would probably use somebody else. So, just find that happy medium where you can. All right, MJ, it's all yours.
I'm going to interject one more thing.
Yeah,
before MJ completely goes off.
Go ahead.
One thing I would say, and if you got into this for the love of what you do, with what Shani was talking about, and you find yourself kind of struggling a little bit with that, one thing that helps me is the fact that I'm very blessed with the fact that I have a full-time teaching job. As much as it drives me crazy sometimes, as much as my kids want to pull what hair I have in my chin left, I'm very blessed in that aspect. So what that allows me to do is when I'm having those stressed months, when I know I'm going to have an insane time of year, I don't take as much, because this becomes that extra money for me that allows my family to go on vacation, that allows us to pay off, bills ahead of time. But it's not that bread and butter money. If I don't have another gig for the rest of my life, my family still survives. So if you find that you can't do what you do for the same reasons, find something else that can help take care of that, so that you can do it for the reason that you got into it in the first place. I'm going to say, if it's a passion, get something that allows you to kind of take away that bread and butter aspect, so that you can do it for the passion again. Not saying you do it for free, not saying you know your worth. If you have that luxury, I realize that's another issue and opens up a whole nother can of worms. But if you have that luxury to do that, go for it. It at least for me, it really helps. It helps me stay as sane as I can, which isn't very much. But MJ, go ahead.
Oh, look at the time. Well, thanks for watching, everyone.
It's been a great night, guys. Bye. I'm going to catch the end of the NCAA game. Bye-bye.
You can join me on my channel after this. I read for the next hour and a half.
I got to go work on music. Bye, everybody.
MJ. So what do you think? What do you think?
First thing to go with Dan, one of the things that he said about being able to do what he does because he works a day job. Another way around that is something that I found a zillion years ago, and I wish somebody would have taught me this as a young person, and I try to teach as many young people as I can. If you want to chase your dreams, one of the biggest things to help you chase your dreams is do not get in debt. Do not get in debt. Doesn't matter if you think you need it, don't get it. Okay? Because no matter what, I mean, you have to make money. You have to pay bills. This is all part of life. I know that with me, I'm not like the typical person when it comes to DJing, because I've been chasing after this dream since the late 80s. I've literally given up my house at one point, my car, friends, relationships. I was doing whatever it took to make it. And that was my mindset. And I'm still there because I know that I push relationships out of my life to focus on making it bigger. That is my goal because I love what I do. And I've said, I remember driving to a gig in the late 90s saying, if I can't write my own ticket for DJing, I'm going to quit DJing and never DJ again, because I want it to be what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be, I'm doing it for a paycheck. And right now in my life, you do have to have that balance. My ex-booking agent always used to talk about that you're in the music business, which involves both music and business. So you have to have that balance. But I honestly look at my life, and again, this can't be for everybody, is that I look at gigs in the month, because like I said, I turn down gigs all the time that I just don't want to do or don't want to be a part of. I'll look at it and go, I need to make this amount this month. Do I need to take an extra gig, or can I just go, no, I'm going to pass on that? And I pass a lot. And I even pass to the point where I'm underpaid, just so that I'm able to continue doing what I want. I'll suck it up. I'll sell something I have just to go, okay, I don't need that. I'm going to sell it to somebody, put it on eBay, put it on whatever, make a little extra money, long as I don't have to take gigs that I don't want to do and be the DJ that I don't want to be. It lets me be picky. But I couldn't do that if I wasn't crazy in debt. You know, if I had credit, I literally haven't had a credit card in over 10 years, and I refused to get one. When I used to tour, my one booking agent would be like, okay, just put that rent-a-car on the credit card. I'm like, I don't have one. I'm not getting one. We'll figure out another way. But that was before the whole digital age and PayPal and stuff like that. So that was, gosh, I'm old. Literally, I remember early in my touring, I literally went to the bookstore and bought a atlas to have with me, so I was able to have maps to drive all around the United States. The struggle was real. But you basically, WAB said on there, it's a lifestyle. It partially is. And beyond the lifestyle of DJing, you have to love the hustle of this game, to where nights when I'm not DJing, I'm out going to as many places as I can, talking to as many people as I can about DJing. People see me post all the time on there, hey, I have Saturday open. I have about a 75% chance every time I post, I've been looking at the odds, that I have a day open, that someone goes, hey, you want to fill in here? And that's the kind of thing, that being out there hustle, being in people's minds, being available, if they know you're trustworthy, that you're show up to the gig and do your job, that really it is a value beyond. I'm telling you, it's a value beyond talent. Mm-hmm. Being known as accountable, and that you will be professional, and that you will show up and not cancel out. That is a big thing. But for me, like I said, it's not everybody's. I put myself in this position. I know I've lost relationships over it. I know at one point I sold my house in the 90s just because it was like, I don't need this debt. I need to be touring. And I lived out of my car. I had a car where when I traded it in, finally, it had 172,000 miles on it from touring, and it was less than 10 years old. So, I mean, it's just, that's what I did. I remember being at a huge festival, and this is a funny joke, and I think I've told this before, that I had everything packed up in the back of the car, and I've just popped the front seat down to sleep, and it was getting really cold at night, and everything I had warm was all the way in the back. So I reached down and I grabbed the floor mat and pulled the floor mat up over me like a blanket because that's all I had. But I was literally willing to sacrifice everything, and I still do a lot. So it's not for everybody. But to handle why you got in the business, if you got in it for money, then hustle that. That's great. If that's your thing, and making the paycheck along with doing what you do and don't hate what you do, that's a form of wealth, not hating what you do. But if you do it for the money, it's really hard. I have this guy, John, that I want to bring on the show. He's a DJ here in Pittsburgh, and I'm almost finished. Mm-hmm. DJ Easy Lou's his name. Every time I'm around him, I tell people this story. The man is 72, almost 73.
Yep, we've talked about him.
Has been DJing since the 70s and still has a passion for DJing. He technically is retired, but he still DJs about 2 nights a week, picking the gigs he wants. He does this one soul. Yeah, he does this one soul and what kind of music would you call it? Like soul music, but it's still something different. He's in his neighborhood. They have a farmer's market. He plays funky soul music at the farmer's market. I
love it. That's awesome.
But the thing is over the years is that he has not turned bitter by the business side of this. And
see, now that's somebody that if you ever, that's my thing. If you ever see somebody like that out, you need to take a few minutes to go up to somebody like that and just either shake their hand or I just, if you could have a conversation with them, try. If not, I mean, I get it, they're working, but then just shake their hand. I mean, I love seeing stuff like that. I love it.
I spend time around him as much as I can. It was happened to be like 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night. My friend Pete's like, hey, let's go up to this place up the street. I went up there. Here comes Lou in. As soon as Lou sat down, I'm like, Pete, I got to tell you about Lou. And I went right to the whole story about him and his passion. And that's really hard to do what he's done. I honestly say there's of every DJ I've ever met, there's probably five or less that have achieved the length and still not be bitter and not talk smack on people, nothing. I'm good.
That's, how I've always said that no matter what type of, industry you're in, whether it's the private event or the club, have mentors, have people that you can look up to that, you can even call or text and say like, hey, like I want to start doing this type of stuff that you're doing. How do I get into that? What do I do? But MJ brought up a good point, and that's about, hustling, like I said, know your worth. I think it goes hand in hand with also hustling for it. Yeah. If you want to stay at whatever level you're at because you have another job and you can't put more on your plate and you're good with where you're at, then great. Then keep it where you're at and all the power to you. And I love you, but I don't want to hear people complaining that, well, I wish I was at this point, or I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. And then my follow-up question is, well, what are you doing to get to it? Are you waiting like this with your hands out? Like, how are you getting to that point? Are you hustling for that? Because I know I'm putting the extra hours when I have a client meeting at my office, and instead of the client meeting lasting an hour, it lasted 3 hours because we got on that level of just started talking about their kids and this and that, or now I know everything about them and they know some personal stuff about me. In the minute they leave, I could lock up that office because I'm starving and I want to go home and I want to eat dinner and I have more stuff to do and I got to put a little laundry in. I sit there for an extra 5 minutes in my office. I open up my computer and I send them an email, how great it was to meet with them tonight and this and that. So by the time they wake up the next day, they see that email that I just sent them, whether it's an initial meeting where I try to book them or I already booked them. So now I have that bond with them. I go that extra mile for my private events. I could have just locked up and walked right out with them and, went through the drive-through and got some food and went home and, watched that episode of, Law and Order that I had been trying to watch forever, or the last episode of Walking Dead or something. But my priorities were, I want to try to hustle and get that business. Same thing with the club stuff. If I want to keep going with, my club gigs and getting more and more, or my traveling stuff, I do what it takes. And if that means I wasn't able to see Logan on the first 3 weeks that it opened in the movie theater, I got to find that, that happy balance that I'll see Logan when I can see Logan, and maybe it'll be an off night that I get to see it, but I have to find that happy balance of, spending time and going out to dinner with my family and friends, but also making sure I put the business in so I can say, I am hustling. I am at my worth. I am getting what I'm getting. So you just have to figure out that happy medium, but I don't want to hear anybody saying like, well, I can't charge what I want to charge because I can't do this. Well, why can't you do it? Give me a reason why you can't do it, because I bet you can. And if you explain to clients, I charge this because it's not for my DJ services, it's for me. I know Dan touched on this like one of the shows before. Like this is what you're getting with me compared. I don't want to talk about anybody else, but I'll tell you why you're getting me at your event, or why I'm the one who's going to get your dance floor packed at the club. So it's like, hustle and know your worth. Those are my two things that go hand in hand. All right, I'll shut up now because I already talked.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. See, this is we had talked about last week. We went on that whole tangent about how to get younger people to the expos and stuff. And the one thing that we all hit on was passion over polish. You're seeing passion tonight. You're seeing full out passion on people who, like I said, with those of us, even when we're not DJing, we're thinking about things. We're asking questions. It's a tough balance, but if you can find it, that's gold.
But you get to a point in your life, career, what have you, where your passion is going to switch. As we've been having this discussion and talking about it, I think Shani was talking earlier about getting up and going to the shows and your motivation and different things. And I get to the point now where on a Saturday, it's a nice day, and I've got to go and get loaded up and get ready to go. And here the kids are going and getting on their bicycles, and they're going to go tooling around the yard. It's really changed my passion for what I do, meaning that it has, in some days, it's like ripped my heart out that I have no desire to go and party with somebody and have a great time when my kids, who I should be spending time with on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and I've got to go do something else. So it definitely changes one's passion. And I think that's why I like high school dances as much as I do, because that's during a time of the year where, it's cold outside. The kids are basically going to just veg in the house. And it's like, hey, you know what? They're going to do their thing. We're good. There's not as much opportunity for them to go outside and do something together and have those memories of camping or what have you. So
that's why I talk about a form of wealth. Being able to spend time with your kids would be something that you could mark as a form of wealth in your business, to where you could work your business one way or another to free you on days like you said, the winter time as opposed to the summer. That's part of hustle, right there. Figuring out how to make it work for you that way. Yeah,
I know for me that's one of the holding points when I contemplated. And John and I had like hour and a half, 2 hour conversation one night just talking about when I was contemplating getting out of teaching and going into full time. And one of the pieces that I kept holding on to was the fact that I've got 2 boys. And if I'm doing this full time, I'm gone on the weekends when they're home, and I'm home when they're at school, and I'm doing meetings when they're home from school. So it's like, and I realize there's tweaks to that and everything else, but a lot of that time would be gone. And I could not, for me, pull that trigger, and things have changed, and I kept those priorities where they needed to be for what I have set up.
You got to know your priorities. I mean, you just have to know your own priorities, so you don't get lost, you don't lose a lot of stuff. And sometimes it's a learning experience. Sometimes, like how MJ said, sometimes you lose things, and you got to figure out, okay, maybe I should have done this. I mean, we've all done that. I've done it too. I've been in places where I was like, oh, why did I do that? I should have, I became the dude, and I was like, oh God, I didn't do this. I didn't do that, so it's like, it's a learning thing. I mean, Dan knows look, I got my kids, I got this, I got that. I want to I want to be the one that can go to this. I want to do this. I want to do that. And we all have those priorities. I mean, we all have we want to make sure we're here for this. We want to make sure. You got to find that happy medium of, okay, well, maybe I don't take, if I do this full time, I don't take meetings on these nights, or I don't do this, or maybe I don't book myself all the time. But then again, I don't want to then hear you say, well, I wish I could make more money doing this, or I wish I got more gigs. Okay, well, you're saying you wish you got more gigs, but you're also telling me that you only want to work this amount of gigs a month. So you got to figure out that happy medium that makes yourself happy. If you want it to be about the money, then hustle your butt off and make it about the money, and work every single night, every single weekend, doing every type of event. But if you want to have that happy medium and being able to be with your friends and your family and being able to do other stuff and have another job, then you can't DJ 7 days a week. You can't do it. So you got to find that happy medium for you where, and we all know this. We're not always going to be 100% happy with everything. Everybody thinks the grass is always greener on the other side. So, and then you go on the other side and, you just screwed up. So
the other side isn't grass. It's
right. It's AstroTurf. I just realized it's AstroTurf. So, it's hard. I mean, and like I said before, the entertainment industry itself is very, very hard. Whether it's DJing, whether it's an actor, anything, it's a very hard industry, and you just have to find yourself in it and be happy.
Yeah. If
you're not happy, go get the cubicle job and, work 9 to 5 and complain about that, because you shouldn't be complaining about something that most people, I should say, started as a passion.
Yeah. Dan, there's another DJ we both know, Michael Chilson. He works a full-time job like you and DJs on the weekend. And he's mentioned to me before that he's very torn between loving to get out and DJ and not DJing and having time to spend with his girlfriend and go places.
Right.
You know, it's he, you know, and that's a thing that it's going to have to go person by person. You have to figure out what's important to you, you know, which is hard.
And I will say, anytime you decide to go to the relationship, make sure your priority is the same as their priority.
Oh yeah. Wrong. Found that out. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
that is true.
I'm not gonna change.
By the way, we've been serious for too long. Someone said make a sake.
Oh, son of a gun, Daniel.
I didn't do it. I did it earlier. So
Yeah, we're probably going to start John said he wanted to start a drinking game next week. That every time the word
Dan and I have been doing it for weeks.
yeah. Exactly.
Oh,
You just not
darn,
kidding.
somebody should tell me.
You don't see us doing it
I don't
every
drink
time.
drink, so I can't.
They're really thirsty tonight because we haven't talked about it.
Anything else? Our time's just about up. This is a good night. I love these open format nights because it really makes. Again, it's part of one of the things that I DJ a couple times a month are 2 different exercise places, and I like them because they change. Like every 10 minutes, they're doing different exercise, different things. So I'm mixing to what they're changing. So that constant live creativity, I think we have here with this. We don't know what we're going to talk about. We don't prepare it. We don't know. You hit us with things. We then have to figure out what exactly the question meant, and then we put them there.
I don't prepare any night.
John, we need to find some jobs for Dan.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dan's gotta put that school job to the side. Use a prep hour for your show.
You have no idea some of these shows that we do, how many hours I prep for them.
Oh, I believe it.
Wednesday night shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
But besides, what are we doing? We're doing even having a Wednesday night show this week. I don't even know.
We've got to figure out what that will be yet. We haven't gotten that far yet. We've always got the old backup where we basically sit there and sing 70s television theme songs.
One night I had a bad technical problem and we didn't do the show, and John and I just sat there and talked, and that was one of our highest viewed shows. Yeah. It was just us like, oh, we have to fill the hour.
Yeah.
It came on. So you people must like hanging out with us. So if you all go to one of the expos, whether it be on the East Coast or the West Coast, and we're there, buy us lunch.
Or they can just go to lunch with us because there's a White House Subs.
There's a White House sub. I was just gonna say that to John.
Wait a minute.
Say,
Is there in the new
White
place?
House subs at Tropicana?
No, not at Tropicana. That's Carmine's over there, and we got to go to that too. We're gonna see if we can get enough DJNTV people, and we're gonna go to Carmine's. But White
Where's
House
subs?
It's about
I was in Trump, but
it was about a block from the convention center, the Sheraton there.
Oh,
Trump just got sold to Hard Rock.
yeah, to Hard Rock.
Yeah, Hard Rock. Yeah,
I think it's gonna be awesome if White House Subs.
Trump Rock, the Trump Rock Hotel.
So that'll be 2018. They'll probably be back on the boardwalk. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
when it moved out, then is Hard Rock going to have the hotel and they're going to have the restaurant in? Oh no, the restaurant wasn't.
The restaurant wasn't
in the corner.
the hotel.
I was thinking
right in the
it was
corner.
down, but yeah.
That's where they made
Bravo
that.
only needs to bring back that Hard Rock concert that they always
Oh, with their
Yeah.
fun. For those of you who don't know, they did a concert that if you had a pass for the expo, any pass, you can
Yeah.
get into that concert. And the concert always had main name acts from 80s up to brand new. In fact, even Lady Gaga performed before she was a hit there. But it's like there isn't a name that doesn't perform that night you haven't heard or played.
Well, that's the promo only party.
promo only. And they still do that, but they do it off-site, and we're not invited.
Yeah.
They don't have the big names though, do they?
Yeah, they do because they're affiliated with the summer session.
Yeah,
they're the ones that do
radio.
the summer session.
Oh, see.
But then that's why I said last week that it's going to be interesting because summer session now is a week before DJ Expo. They did that on purpose. So all the big names will be for summer session.
Wow.
Which MJ's like, what?
No, I understand. I'm thinking that John needs to go ahead and start that disc jockey news retreat weekend for all of us, and see if he can get some big names to come in. And
Well,
To Minnesota in November.
no, we have to have it somewhere else. We got to travel.
That's what I thought, but
Minnesota in November is a beautiful time of year. It's sunny and 70 every day.
What is he?
I've been to
he's
Minnesota.
blinded by the snow.
Yeah,
And
I've done many gigs in your state in the wintertime, and I'm telling you what, it's abusive. It's not cold weather. It's abusive.
Especially, New Year's Eve in Alexandria. Yes.
Yeah, that was one that I took the plane there from Pittsburgh, got off the plane, threw the thing, just jumped straight in the van down at the Minneapolis St. Paul airport, drove 2 hours north, darn close to Canada, get out at a Walmart, and I almost died because I did not have ski wear on. All I had was a pair of khakis, and I thought I was going to die. Oh.
Yeah, why November? Why November, John?
When you look at the schedule, there's really not that much.
Is that why? Okay.
Because you've got the spring where you've got NAMM, and then you go from NAMM to February. Actually, is another open date. Then you go from that. You've got the Mobile Beat Photo Booth Expo. That's in March. You get into April, and you've got Easter in there that messes up a lot of things. And you've got Pro Sound and Light over in Germany. You get into May. May, we've got Midwest DJs Live. Then you've got summer, you're going to have the Chicago DJ show, and you're going to have
Arms.
And then Arms is in that. July is open. That's vacation. August is Expo. September is an open month. Then October is Wedding MBA, and then you got November. That's a possibility. But then at the end of November, you've got LDI. And
I just don't like going from snow to more snow.
Oh, we don't have snow. We just have lots of ice.
Great, because I love that so much too here in Chicago.
For those of you who don't know the area where John lives, I'm riding in that van going to the venue. Sitting in this van, snow everywhere. I look to my right. On the side of the road is a path that is being used by snowmobiles to go to the store. And it's just like another road. They're riding up the road, pull in front of the store, get off their snowmobile, go in the store, back on snowmobile, and drive alongside the road. And we're not talking like country. We're talking like 2 lanes this way, 2 lanes this way, and snowmobiles on both sides.
I'm just going to be negative Nancy the whole time. Sorry, everybody. I'm giving you a heads up.
I love the
Even
post
though I'm from Chicago and we have like wind chill of -30 and black ice and everything, for me to just leave Chicago to go somewhere the same or even worse, I'm just negative Nancy.
See, we don't have the big lake, though. I mean, you get that lake effect, whatever it is. We don't have that. We just have the tundra.
Great. I'll be wearing my fur.
Expansive masses of
Boots with the fur.
That too.
Okay.
Nobody else?
I think we should wrap it up. We are after our time tonight. Thank you guys for being with us tonight and hanging out. This week coming up, we've got Tuesday night with Ben Stowe, Brian tomorrow night at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock Eastern. Wednesday night, we will have something for our 9 o'clock slot.
Something.
We haven't gotten that far yet. This is what happens.
It won't involve Megaseg. I promise you that it will not involve Megaseg.
Well, then obviously my planning, I'm out of ideas. That was mine. Well, we'll figure something out. So that'll be 9 o'clock Wednesday night, and then at 10 o'clock we're going to be talking Twitter. We're going to be talking Twitter. And my question is Twitter dead? So we were going to make the little card for it, and we were thinking, should we make it so is Twitter dead, or more importantly, should I get a Donald Trump headpiece or hair, the wig? Because, he's the only one really using Twitter right now. That would be so awesome.
Not if you've been to Twitter. There's a whole lot of advertising going on there that's driving me bananas.
I guess I don't. I've got Twitter, but I don't.
Advertisement.
They're trying to figure ways to make money, and it's chasing a lot of folks away. So, yep. That'll be our week for this week. So thank you guys for being with us, and we will catch you tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern. Good night, everyone.